Hi, this is Rob from dnbalmanac.com with This Week in Dave Matthews Band History. This week in 2003, D&B played The Great Lawn at Central Park in New York City. The show has been and will always be considered a career highlight and was attended by more than 120,000 people. The show itself features elite performances by the band a few days after the close of the summer tour. The set is stacked with crowd favorites and a handful of rarities thrown in, and plays like an early live greatest hits. Frequent guest in New York City local Warren Haynes guested on Cortez the Killer and Jimmy Thing. The show was webcast on AOL, then of course released as the Central Park concert on CD and DVD. You can find all of the shows from huge events like Central Park to small gigs at tracks at dnbalmanac.com, and we never stop looking for information on older shows. Follow us on Facebook and Threads to get daily updates with everything that happened that day in the band's history.
Have you ever stopped to think about the fans behind a band? What is it about the music that keeps fans coming back for more? Or is there more? My name is Renae Lipsmeyer, and I am the host of this podcast, The Space Between Podcast, the podcast where we talk about the fans of the Dave Matthews Band. Each week, a fellow DMB fan joins the show to discuss their journey with the band. Welcome to the Space Between Podcast. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Space Between Podcast, the podcast where we talk about the fans behind a band that has been making music for over 30 years. If this is your very first time to join into the show, thank you so much. You are about to learn about a band that maybe you didn't even know is still playing music. All of the questions that come up when we talk about one band, Dave Matthews Band. Of course, they started in 1991 in Charlottesville, Virginia, and they are literally still touring the world. And thousands of people stay close to their heels, following them in every direction. So every episode, I have a fan of Dave Matthews Band on the show to talk about their why. Why do they listen to this band? When did they find them? And why do they continue to chase them after 34 years? And so this show is like everyone. I have a guest on the show to talk about his journey. And so tell us who you are, where you are, and something cool about you.
Let's see. Well, I'm Devon Bailey. I'm here in Austin, Texas right now. Something cool about me, I also started in the year 1991. Whenever I have to remember how long Dave Matthews has been doing this go. Well, I was born in April.
You were born in 1991. Looky there. This is going to be a great story. I love it.
Simpatico.
I think you might be the first person on this show that was born the same year as the band was created. So this is going to be a great, great story. So tell us, what do you do in your free time outside of like listening to music and stuff?
That is
you
a
live.
large part. Yeah, I'm in the live music capital of the world.
Yes, you are.
So I fully take advantage of that. It is rare to go a week without some kind of concert. And I'm a huge participant. You know, they film Austin City Limits here. And so those are recorded right down the street from where I work. So if one's happening, I just go get in line and find a way to get in there. And let's see, we just had
awesome
50th anniversary of Austin City Limits last year. And so I tried to hit every single one of them. So
yeah,
that's
absolutely.
a good part of my free time, is just going around town, a lot of music and making friends.
What a life though, right? That's awesome. You live in a great city for that. I've been to Austin. Of course, Austin 2022 is one of my favorite shows of ever.
Front and center.
Of ever. Yeah. Yes. Also, just like how he busted out that year with Break For It, Break Free, Shotgun. I mean, you name it, it was happening in Austin. And I was like, well, he should play here often. And it was a beautiful venue, like had just opened.
Brand new, and it was cold, which in Austin goes a long way.
Yes, it was cold inside. I do remember that, and thinking, you know, it's 1,000 degrees outside that we stood in line for. And then we get inside and we're like, oh, shit, I didn't know I was going to need a winter jacket. But you know, once the dancing started and everything, we were just fine. It was like the first couple hours of waiting. We froze to death. Austin's great. I mean, football, music, so much culture in that part of Texas. I love it.
And I came out here seeking that out. You know, we got great music. There's a good kind of film community here. I love movies, so constantly checking all that out. But Austin's, it's all it's hyped up to be. Don't let anyone tell
Exactly.
you it's no longer what it used to be. It's still thriving in the best way.
What is the slogan? I know that Austin has like a slogan.
I
I know.
don't know the particular. I can tell you a line from Richard Linklater though that I've always loved. He's, you know,
Okay.
local filmmaker, and his was "Whenever you moved here, you just missed it." And so that's a good framing of Austin.
It's always been good. I want to say
Attitude.
that I heard something like, so I live near Fayetteville,
Mhm.
Arkansas, and so they're saying about the city is keep Fayetteville funky, and I wanted to say that Austin had something similar
Keep
to
Austin
that.
weird. Yeah, it's
Okay,
kind of like
keep Austin weird.
our local business. You know, support our local businesses. Keep
Yes.
Austin weird, which that
Yes.
is something that is changing around here. We're getting
Yeah.
all the big businesses are.
So tell us, when was the very first time you came across or heard about Dave Matthews Band?
Yeah, I know. You know, I definitely grew up with like the hits, right? Anything that was played on the radio, I would say I was fairly familiar with. But here's what's really going to date myself. I swear the first time I like really plugged in, and paid attention was like a couple of my friends had on their MySpace accounts
Yeah.
the Gravedigger music video.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember that was, you know, I liked his music, but that was really the first time I was like, I just watched that music video. You can't even find it on, I don't even think it's on YouTube anymore.
Oh, I don't
Um,
know.
but I would watch that over and over again because you know you used to have to go like find the algorithm and like put it into the code of your
God,
page.
what were
All
we
these
doing
things.
back then?
We were savvy, but I think that was probably the first time I like just really paid attention. And then I had like a mentor figure when I was like a freshman in high school who was obsessed with Damon,
Obsessed.
and it was his single mission to make sure that I also was obsessed with
It
Damon.
worked.
It
I don't know
worked.
if it worked
And
then, but
I
eventually.
think I became more obsessed than he ever was. So he did his job and then some.
So what did you like about the Gravedigger video? Like, what was it that caught your attention?
I was just such a powerful song, you know, and I don't know. I think the being a young kid's thoughts about death and all the whatever it may be, it was very emotive. You know, I didn't know too many singers who had the sincerity in their voice to like sing something like that song. Something I still
Yeah.
feel sets Dave Matthews apart, you know. Like his
Yeah.
passion in the way that he sings is unique. You know?
Yes. So that was in the, give us a time frame. What time frame was
That
that?
would have
Because
been
MySpace, you say
probably,
MySpace, and I'm like, I don't even
yeah, I'm
know when that
thinking
was.
around 2003, 2004
Okay.
was probably when I really started paying attention. And then I know not long after the Radio City album came out,
Okay.
and that definitely was like the pushed me over the edge kind of thing. I think I had like Fenway Park, like Live Track 6, and then the Best of What's Around Volume 1. Like I had those in my car, and you know, I would listen to those a lot. But it was definitely when Radio City came out, and that was still like a MySpace thing because they were posting. I think he posted like Ehi from Radio City on his MySpace account, and I just watched that over and
Yes.
the day this album comes out. I would be bought. And I
Yes.
remember I was still living with my folks, so I made my mother drive me to Target, and we got both the CD and the DVD. And
Hell yeah.
I still to this day listen to that nonstop, but particularly I think I drove everyone in my vicinity insane because that's all I ever wanted to listen.
Right. And what was it? I mean, as you continue going on, was it the lyrics? Was it the music? Was it that it was different than everything else you were listening to? And by the way, what were you listening to? Like, what was your vibe before this?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And it's funny, my road to this would be, like I said, I love movies. And so I used to listen to a lot of music or movie soundtracks. And
Yeah.
so just instrumental music, I really actually did like. And, you know, I grew up in a Christian household too. And so hearing a song like Bartender that was like questioning the bigger themes
Right.
of
Right.
life and like, you know, questioning faith as a whole,
Right.
like I was just really captivated by someone being honest about doubt and like
Mm-hmm.
disbelief and trying to make sense of all of that. And so, yeah, Bartender was, I mean, starting that show with Bartender, I mean, that's one of the best live performances I think of all time.
It is. My opinion, too. My husband literally still gets goosebumps when listening that particular version.
It's the
It's
one I
just,
share with people. They'll be like, this is who this guy is, you know, like
yes.
that's what I send
Yes.
people. And then I get the band to them. But so for me, it was a combination of the lyrics and then the jams were exciting because it was kind of tying into that instrumental music that I really liked. And It's just beautiful music.
Yes.
And like more than like the rock, I really love the jazz kind of stuff.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so like, yeah, listener supported in particular was just like the right tone of music for me.
Right.
But other than that,
Absolutely.
it's so funny. Like I feel like I listened to maybe some folky kind of music. Like I remember Damien Rice. I was obsessed with them about the same time. I think Snow Patrol was someone I was listening
Yeah. Hell yeah.
before
I
their
remember
second
them.
album came
Yes.
out. I
No,
really liked
yeah.
some of their stuff. So it was, I don't know, it was kind of all over the place. But movie soundtracks definitely were the thing I was listening to the most
Yeah.
before I really leaned in on Dave Matthews. Yeah.
I remember buying a lot of movie soundtracks. If I'm trying to think of like one that really stuck out to me, the Godzilla soundtrack, the one that came out in
The
maybe the
Matthew
late
Broderick
90s.
one.
I remember the music. It was amazing. And I bought that album because of the music, not because of the movie. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's fun.
soundtracks are so, so good, or at least they used to be when I was paying attention to them a lot more. But, even Dave Matthews Band has been on a couple of movie
That's right.
soundtracks.
Made
And
a few.
so yeah, so they're everywhere. 2004, 2005, Evan, you're in the early 2000s. What's next? Like, how do you keep progressing?
Yeah, well, I'll say this because I feel like it's kind of part of the story is, in 2007, I was living in a different city than I grew up in. And I
Mhm.
had this rowing community that was like kind of the main social world I was in. And I remember my coach died like suddenly in a car accident.
Thanks.
And I remember back to kind of Radio City, I remember just really, I think that's why I leaned on that album because it was kind of this like it was the right tone to process something like that as a young person. And so
Yeah.
some of those songs just kind of had that somber, mellow kind of place to like find some comfort and just kind of get away from the grief a little bit. But it also, I think, kind of latched me to that music in a particular kind of way too. And so I feel like that was definitely the big thing. I was actually supposed to go to my first concert the weekend of that funeral. And so
Oh
I
my
didn't get to
goodness.
go in
Yeah.
2007 to the Tampa show, it would have been, there were some songs that I really would still have never heard, never played at that show.
Wow.
And so that was a really kind of pivotal thing for me. And especially, I do think that album really helped me like deal with it. Just the
Yes.
right tone. And so I moved back to my hometown in 2008. And that was the first year I got to go to a live show. And so my first concert was the Atlanta show in 2008. And they opened with Bartender. So it was just like perfection.
Magic.
It was, and I don't know, did you go to that tour? Were you the
No.
2000? So the way they
No.
started that show was, I haven't been to a show since that did this, but they had like a cage in front of the stage that was an LED
Uh-huh.
screen. And so when the music started, you couldn't see the band. It was like a projected kind of image. And then when the band kind of crashed into Bartender, you could see them. And then the
Oh,
cage
wow.
like started to rise. And it was
What?
it was incredible. Like I just got
Wow.
goosebumps
Ooh,
remembering it.
like they totally uncaged the beast. Like,
It was
okay, guys,
It was a
here they fucking
powerful
come.
experience. Exactly. It was something else. And the only bummer in not going to that 2007 show is I never got to see Leroy. And because
Mhm.
his accident was just before the Atlanta concerts. And so I remember that night we all made like a video. We want Roy. We want Roy. And like kind of got to be a part of sending him some love while he was still in the hospital. So that was such a bummer. So it was some of Jeff's first shows kind of touring with the band. And it was also the year Tim Reynolds kind of full time joined the band too. So it was exciting on that level of there's a lot of
Yes.
new things happening here, but I never got kind of that original crew. And I do,
Right.
that is a bummer to me.
It is a bummer. I never saw Leroy either. I did see Boyd. I never saw Leroy though. And, don't we wish we could have all had that time, but it wasn't in the right times for me or for you. And so thankfully the band has documented and the fans have documented that time so that we still have the music and we
That's
still have
right.
videos. And so it's good, I think, to know about the original start of this band just to kind of understand it even as it is now. And I hate that you missed that. But again,
Yeah.
yeah, you were going into an exciting time as well.
Yeah,
Hard to
absolutely.
see that at the same time though. So let's talk about first show. So you had listened to some live albums. So knowing that their studio albums versus when they played it live, you knew that it wasn't going to sound exactly the same.
Right.
You knew that they did extended jam sessions. Anything you remember walking away from your first show going, kind of wasn't expecting that, or wow, I was more surprised than what I thought I would be? Like, do you remember? And I know it's been a while and I get that, but like, it's hard to remember all of those things, but do you remember anything?
I just knew I immediately wanted to go again. That was like the first impulse. I think I even might have had some friends going to the next show. And I remember, I didn't have a job. I was dependent on my parents at that point.
Sure.
And I was like, please. And they're like, why would you go see the same band twice,
Exactly.
And then the next year I was definitely a bit more independent, and I went to so many shows in 2009. But no, that was definitely, I mean, I was just blown away. It was every bit of joy you want to get from a show. And it was a great show for like a first time too, because it was like the encore was like Crash into Me and Ants Marching, it was like, that's what the only thing I'll say is they were supposed to bring back Space Between that night. And some kid, I think, really begged Dave to play Crash into Me. So they played that for this person. And
yeah,
I'll forgive them, because at least for a first show, that's kind of the encore you want.
Yeah.
Give me the two
you still want all
biggest
those songs. Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad there's still all that electric feelings behind the songs that are. I mean, just the fact that they're still playing it is enough reason to lose it. And
That's
so
right.
I always feel so sad when people gripe
feel.
about anything, but that's okay. Your opinion matters.
That's right.
Yes. So it didn't take you long. You left wanting to go see more shows, and it sounds like it took just a little bit, but you did. 2009, you hit the road.
2009, I hit the road. I think they had the 2 Alpharetta shows. I remember I skipped school to take a car full of buddies up to Alpharetta. And man, one of my favorite concert memories of all time. There's a couple of things that happened at those shows that are really memorable, but we almost got kicked out, because if you ever go to Alpharetta, it's a really small venue. It's only like 9,000 people, and the lawn is really close to the sidewalk. It's not that elevated. And when Tripping Billies came on, we were dancing our asses off. And like we had moved the lawn all the way down into the walkway, and we were just kind of going crazy. And the fire marshals were like, "You got to get out of here." And we started a movement on the lawn, is what it felt like. But the other significant thing for me, at least, was I met kind of my good Dave concert buddy at that show. He came solo, and he just happened to sit down next to my friends, and we were just talking the same language. It's like you meet those obsessed fans who get it, and they're like, well, last night he played this, and we were talking the same speech. And I met my friend Chris that night. I was in his wedding years later, but we've traveled many shows together. But it's just like kind of that experience, it's like you just sit down next to a stranger and then you're lifelong buddies.
Right.
Those shows are always memorable.
Finding our people on the road is a lot of fun. And so that exposed you to the community.
Definitely.
The community that was around the band. And so when did your eyes kind of open up to that? Was it in 2009 that you were like, hey, these people are just so cool? And also I've identified that like people really do follow this band to every show and have gone to 100 shows or whatever. When was your realization of all of that?
I probably picked that up even before I went to a concert. Like I think I had an understanding, but also, I mean, just when you're at a show and quite literally 20,000 people know every word to every single song, that just tells you this is different than the other stuff.
Yes.
And to be in an environment where like this many people are obsessed, and it's not a small catalog of music, and yet everyone knows everything. And yeah, you do. I feel like 2009 was definitely like talking to the people around me, and just getting to really know. Because I think I went to West Tampa and West Palm that year too, and just getting a good sense of like this is a big deal. And then those venues, especially down south, West Palm in particular, you're just tailgating all day, and so you're either waiting in line to get in or you're hanging out in the lots with people. And so that kind of community. And I think it really just started bringing my own friends along.
Yeah.
I had some friends from Tallahassee, Florida. That's where I grew up. And just piling in the car, finding the cheapest hotel we can, eating Taco Bell up and down the coast. And then just that community just built and built and built, and you just start meeting so many great people. And then you when you go to some of those more significant kind of venues, you just really find the larger community that is, and people who do travel to as many shows as they can. And it does. And
Because it's a 2-for-1.
I'm sure you feel this way, but it does feel like I have a friend in every state. If I needed somewhere to crash, I could find it. If I wanted to go to a show but couldn't quite figure it out, I know it could happen.
Just a phone call away. Do I know anybody in Utah? Do I know anybody in Idaho? Yeah. Probably. Let me look right quick.
Yeah.
It's good. You really do build a whole different set of friends, and sometimes they become more than just your DMB friends. You're in their weddings, or you're in their lives on a different level, other than just speaking about DMB. Start talking about life, and a real friendship is born there. So many of my friends I've met because of this community, and so thankful for that. So thankful that they like DMB, because it is just different. It is different to have friends that are into the same thing as you. Just like, whatever. If you're a big Chiefs fan, fans want to be friends with Chiefs fans, right? Like, they don't want to be friends with Cowboy fans. Like, they just, that's a little different, but also it's the same. And it's really cool to have friends all over the United States, and maybe even the world that's into what you're into, and can usually answer questions that maybe I can't, or I know somebody I can reach out to that's going to know that answer. It's fun to build that catalog of friends. 9 leads into what?
Yeah, 2010 was the year for me. Absolutely. Because we went to the summer tour. I went to several shows that summer, and the West Palm shows forever and always I will remember as being amongst the best, because the big thing that year was they were bringing back all these songs, like in a really intentional way. They were liberating like everything they could, and every single venue wanted to hear The Last Stop. That was the song. Everyone was chasing it. And West Palm's kind of funny, because I feel like West Palm's just kind of cool with it. They don't necessarily, I don't remember chants for songs in West Palm Beach. I'm trying to remember the order of that evening, because there was just so much excitement involved in it. But I think I have a video of us on the lawn, just like it was just playing before it even happened, because we could tell the band's nervous or trying to figure out what they're about to do there. Yeah. And when they started the first chords of Last Stop, it didn't hit in your brain right away, but then it did. And just like, everyone around me lost their ever-loving minds.
Yes.
And it was just like, it was one of the craziest concert experiences I've ever had, because you're just so excited.
Right.
I'd never heard the song at that point either, and it was just unbelievably exciting to feel like we got.
Right, you're the ones.
We got.
Yes.
And I remember like 2 songs later, I think he wanted to like You and Me or something after that. And then Warren Haynes was the big opener. Government Mule was opening. And they played one song, and then we saw them bring out the guest microphone. And I remember all of my buddies going, "There's a fucking mic." We were anticipating. Right. And they played the very first chord of Cortez the Killer. And I was just like, this is the best concert I think I've ever been to.
Absolutely.
It was so exciting. I think my buddy like slapped my face just to like bring us back to reality.
Is this real?
Like, it really was how did we get so spoiled? Because it just like, I think the show started with the Stone. Like, it was just a crazy weekend. And man, I love going to the West Palm. It's just such a fun place.
Too.
But also I had 2 buddies with me. I had my friend Chris that I mentioned, I had a buddy named Will who I met hanging around in West Palm the year prior. And that was back when I don't know if any of us were on Twitter yet, but they texted us announcements for the band. And while we're all in West Palm, they announced they're not going to tour next year, and that they're going to end it with a fall run. And the final 2 shows will be in Charlottesville, Virginia. And I just remember we all looked at each other and said, we are going to that concert.
Yes,
There's no way we were missing, because it was kind of like, I think that would have been 20 years of the band touring nonstop. And this was like the first year they were really going to take the year off. And so a lot of us didn't know what was coming after this.
Right.
There was a lot of anxiety, even of like, is this the beginning of the end kind of feeling too?
Because even 20 years is it's wonderful.
Quite a marker. And to think that, they were going to end it in their hometown like that, that wasn't nothing. Yeah. And so it kind of added to the sincerity of, this is a big moment and we need to be a part of it. So yeah, I remember we just all decided. And what was cool was, so my friend Chris lived in Atlanta. My friend Will lived in South Carolina. And so the final 4 shows of the run were Atlanta, South Carolina, 2 nights in Charlottesville. And so we were
No
just
way.
like,
Of course.
we have to do this. So
it's
we ended
a personal
up doing,
invite.
we did a road trip, and I'm a real nostalgic person. So anytime November comes around, I just like immediately my brain goes back to that trip with those buddies. And it was kind of the first real like independent road trip I had with just my friends, and driving, from Florida to Virginia. And what a time. And those are, those are my kind of, my significant story happens from those.
So how did you feel about Charlottesville? I've only been one time. It was 2023. Such a little, like, quaint little town, college town. What do you think?
I love Charlottesville. That trip is a big reason why, but it's one of my favorite places in the world. I actually got to live near Charlottesville for about a year, and I went down there just about every weekend, which was like, not to make it heavy, but it was the year of kind of all the BS that was happening there with the white supremacists. And so you'd be down there and all of a sudden, all right, I guess I'm protesting this weekend too.
Right.
But the way I've described Charlottesville to people is there's never been a time that I visited that a stranger didn't buy me a drink. Like, that's what Charlottesville is like. And it's a music town too, kind of like Austin, but it's kind of it's a bit quieter in that way. But you go to Miller's, or you can go to any of these clubs on the mall, and there's just such great kind of legendary musicians playing. It's like these are the people that like Dave Matthews looked up to, and they're playing every week.
Right.
And so it's such a beautiful mountain town, and the people there are just awesome. Yeah,
they really are.
I love Charlottesville, but going for when Dave is in town is a whole other thing, because it feels like homecoming. The whole street.
It does.
Kind of everywhere you look, people have those T-shirts on. The cars all have the fire dancers on them, and being able to see that band in that town, it just feels different.
Yeah. Do you remember any highlights from the shows in Charlottesville that year?
Well, my big thing is we kind of harassed Dave Matthews into playing a song.
How do you go about doing that?
I'll say this. It actually happened earlier that year in Tampa. So when I was in Tampa in 2010, I had snuck some Spoons into the pit. Mm-hmm. Spoon has always been one of my favorite songs. And I think at the time of Tampa 2010, I think it had only been played live 14 times.
Okay.
And that felt criminal to me.
Kind of is.
And so I was determined to have that happen. And so it was the first time I was ever in the pit, was in Tampa in 2010. And I brought these plastic spoons in. And the whole night, I had Dave's attention. And he kept coming up to me. He was leaning over into the pit. He's like, I think I got the first verse down, And so he was like trying to recall the song. And there was there's like a 2-second tease, if you ever listen to the tape, where he tried to like remember the chords. And he just kept coming up to me. And even into the microphone, I think at the end of the night, he was like, I'm going to try and remember this one. And then he played Sister instead. And then he was like, I hope everyone got what you wanted. And he said, I'm sorry, buddy. He said, maybe tomorrow or the next day, which would have been West Palm. And so he did not play it in West Palm.
But you had a whole movement. How many spoons did you bring in? Like 10, are we talking?
Well, it progressed over the fall tour. So that show, I only had, like, my buddy and I were holding them up. Okay. And there's a great photo of us somewhere. But when, I think in Atlanta, we had a handful of people. But then the North Charleston, South Carolina show, we must have handed out like 40 of them in the pit. And at I want to say earlier in the show, he played like the first couple of chords. And then in the encore of the night, I don't think it was me, someone had tossed one of the spoons up on the stage. And Stefan came, picked it up, looked at us and stuck his tongue out, And then he looked over to Dave, and Dave started playing the chords. And then he came up into the microphone and he sang the last verse of the song. And we were, over the moon. We walked out in the parking lot like we won, because we knew Charlottesville was going to get spooned. And so we were just absolutely ecstatic. And then I want to say we went and bought even more spoons. And we told everyone in the pit that it was right after Big Whiskey had come out. So we said, after every single Big Whiskey song, put the spoons up in the air, And so that above, and I mean, that was the highlight of any show I've ever been to.
Oh, God,
And I think it's one of the best versions they've ever played because they just jammed the shit out of the end of that song.
Yeah.
And it's fun. There's one moment they released the show. Actually, I'm gonna brag. I'm in a braggy move. But they released the show.
It's your story.
They released it as like the live tracks, and then my little bragging moment is like right there is me.
No way.
I got to make it on the live album.
My God.
But
the Spoon Boy.
Spoon Boy. We also all my buddies wore plaid, like full plaid suits and mustaches, so we were just being called the Plaid Boys.
Like fake mustaches? Or you
no,
all
they were
had
real. We were real mustaches.
Okay.
But what was great was that it was, they put me up on the screen. So there's a cool little 2-second shot in the DVD of like me on the big screen with the spoon up.
No way. How many times have you still paused it like in that moment and just been like,
and I honestly think I watched that concert on the anniversary every year. So I like it's just
you should.
It's such a happy memory for me. And what was cool is I think I got a pick that night, and some person, buddy I made that week, was very, very generous and traded the set list for the pick. So I still have my little.
Wow, that's amazing. What a solid trade. Like, yeah, I'll give you the pick for the
definitely
set
got
list.
He did not want to give me this, but he knew what it meant to me. And I remember he was just kind of reluctant. He was like, here.
Build up peer pressure.
I'm so grateful. It's genuinely a prized possession of mine. And but no, that Charlottesville weekend was so spectacular. And it was, the encore, it was like a true double encore that night. Because I think they ended with Last Stop, and it was like this, like maybe one of the longest versions they've ever done of this kind of long Last Stop kind of intro to end the show. And we just would not let them leave. And so they kind of came back in the end of the night with Dance Marching. It was just so special to be there. It did feel like the end of one era on the cusp of the beginning of a new one. It's just really
I can
special.
see that. Just because we're in 2025, I can look back at that and go, yeah, that was kind of a beginning of a second or third, whatever movement in their band. But yeah, that's an incredible story. Who would not want to talk about that? And also, I can bet you that anybody that made the cover of any album would be talking about it. So I don't know if that's bragging. That's just straight
it's
facts.
Bragging.
Like, okay, here's the deal.
I will brag.
They saw fit, not me, but the band saw fit to put my face on their album. There you go. You can't control it. They just thought you were a good fit for that album. And it just happened to be that it worked out that it was one of your all-time favorites, and that you brought the spoons in, and then you got the set list, and you got Spoon.
I still have my old plastic spoons.
Is that the original spoon?
Well, the original one I think I snapped in half in victory.
Wow.
But these are the ones. These are the ones we were handing out to people that night. So there's still some Charlottesville love on them, I'm sure.
You've kept these spoons for a long time now. It's like the things we hold on to.
My buddy Chris, he just sold his car that he's had for like almost 20 years. And when he pulled down the dashboard to like send it off, his plastic spoons were still in the visor. And I was just like, that's crazy. But it did. It meant a lot to us when,
Yes.
If Dave ever wants to come out and say that's not why we did it, fine, whatever. It means a lot to us that it happened at all. And that, core memory would be the best way. But it is probably like one of the most nostalgic memories I have. Those shows in Charlottesville. Such a good time.
So here we are 15 years after that. Hard to believe.
Wild? Almost,
and you're still following them. And you shared with me, you wrote a little bit about Spoon and your story of Spoon. Do you want to share why is it that you took the time to like jot all that down? And
well, the thing I shared mostly is just kind of how that all came together. It was fun with Jason or Chester Copperpot had a bunch of clips from that tour. And so I was able to kind of compile the narrative and show like kind of the teases and the little clips of everything he did that year to kind of lead up to that moment. And so it was fun to like capture that. And it's something, it's fun to remember it because I probably wrote it right not long after it happened. And so it's fun to like go back and just remember what it felt like. And 15 years ago, Devon writing that down. And I think I even wrote about the whole weekend because it was just such a important trip to me. But no, in similar sense to Bartender, I like these songs that are about doubt and trying to understand, could dad be God? Was this worth it? Like this kind of idea of even like Christ on the cross, wondering these sinners, is it worth saving these people? And some of those kind of deeper thoughts of spirituality and religion and really just our own humanity. Like, what are we doing with this life? And a lot of times it feels like we're not doing the best with it, and wondering, the bigger themes of just is it worth it? And I hope yes.
The answer is yes.
But I like those songs. I like anyone who's willing to like kind of get honest with that, even if it skews on a negative side. I don't mind. I appreciate the honest songs like that. I think Spoon is a beautifully honest song, trying to piece these thoughts together
inside the head of Dave Matthews. It's so fun to try to interpret these songs because we don't know unless they've told us what their intentional meaning was when writing that song. But it's fun to try to imagine, and we all have our different thoughts on what each song means, or even what certain lines mean. But I think that's part of the whole art process, right? Is that we can interpret it for ourselves, and that they leave it open for us to do so, even if they've had a very different thought process while writing that, and even while they're singing it. I think they're just really okay with you being like, you know what, if that story or if that song helped you or helped you get through something, interpret whatever you need. Just it's good for everybody. So in the last 15 years from that moment, what has kept you coming back for more? Why do you still chase this band that you've been a friend with for so long?
I think it is like, it's a mixture of a handful of things. I love traveling for shows. I think it's fun to go somewhere like the Gorge and, just be kind of hunkered down with people. We all like this music in a pretty passionate way, to be willing to, fly to middle of nowhere, Washington.
Yes.
So part of it is just, I love that experience of just being around people who are there because they love something. Anytime you're around passionate people, I think it's a good time. And it is. I mean, the music, obviously, it's not just chasing songs, even though that is the excitement, I think, is that you just never know what you're going to get. And
that's right.
That's half the fun of why you do it again and again, is you might truly have a different experience. It's pretty much guaranteed. And so that's, I think, a huge part of it. But it is just like, I think at the end of the day, this is the music that lifts my soul. It's not just escape, it's grounding. It's like the way you feel listening to this music, I think, reminds you that life is a really beautiful, good thing when you surround yourself with people who are embracing them, opening themselves up to have that experience. It does connect you to what I think is actually the true story. It's like, there's so much negativity in our face all the time. But there's so much beauty too. And it's important to put yourself in that situation and to dwell on it and to let it kind of take hold of you, and just let it empower you, right? To stand up and go, actually, kindness and love can really have the final word. And
it can.
We need that. And appreciate Dave's, constant articulation of that. He's all about that.
Absolutely.
I think the people who gather are doing their best to get on board with that too,
And I'm so thankful that we're spending this time documenting, because, in 20 years, this will not be the life that we're living. Be great to go back to these stories and listen to such positive things. Like you said, the world is so full of negative things that just get between our ears and drive us crazy.
I think I heard something once that said, like, if someone says something negative to you, it instantly hits your brain, but a positive experience takes like 15 seconds of like really sitting with it. And so like, that's why, like, if someone, everyone gave you compliments, but one person said a negative thing, it like stays with you all night.
So what is 2025 allowed for you? What kind of year has this been for you as a fan?
It's been a very pulled back year, actually. I almost, I was looking down because, I'm in Austin now, and usually I go to the Texas two-step.
Of course.
And a lot of times I'll fly up to Denver because it's pretty cheap to get there from here.
Oh, yeah.
But none of that's this year.
No, it wasn't.
So I was looking down going, and I'm getting married next year. And so.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. And saving up for that. And so the bigger trips in time, we went to Europe this summer too. And so just didn't have much to go do a big Dave trip this year. And so I was really, really grateful that some fans helped me go to that Houston show, that solo Houston show.
Oh my goodness. Tell us about that.
Honestly, truly one of my favorite shows I've ever been to. And
Tell me why.
I'd been to that venue before for like I think Marcus Mumford did like a solo concert in there. And it's so small. I mean, we're talking fewer than 1,000 people are in the venue. And so just super, super intimate concert. And also, whenever it's like kind of I don't know, like a corporate show or some kind of thing like that, you're like, yeah, you're probably just going to play some, but I'm always surprised at like the songs that they choose to play at some of these things. And so it was just a pretty intimate night. And also it's the first time I've ever really seen Dave fully solo, like start to finish, full concert solo set. I'd seen him do a show that kind of started solo and then some other musicians joined him. But this was like the first start to finish kind of solo concert. And that's just anyone who's been to one of those shows can tell you, it's a whole different ball game.
Yes.
And you feel a lot more a part of it too. It's just like, because if you make a noise, it will be heard, it's just like, so everyone's hopefully really quiet, and just really locked into what's happening on the stage. But it's interesting to see how he carries himself too, playing songs that usually these parts are played by other people. And sometimes he's figuring out how to compensate for that or make up for that. And
right.
No, it was such an awesome show. And I got to say hi to him afterwards, which was really special too. He came out and spoke to a few people. And so it was
Look
just
at these memories.
It was a great
that goes right
night.
Up there.
And and I think it was made better by the fact that had I not done that, this would have been like the first Daveless year I've had in like a long, long time, save for COVID.
Wow.
Like the first time I'd went a full year without a concert. And so I'm glad I got it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow. So how can someone read that story that you wrote about Spoon? I think that'll be fun for everyone.
No, feel free to link it in some kind of way, but it's just devonbailey.com. I think it's the story
simple.
Of Spoon is what I titled it. So
super easy. It's just his name.
You'll find some other crazy stuff on there. Some stuff I wrote when I was like in high school. So be warned.
But how fun. How fun though.
But no, that's called The Story of Spoon. And it has clips from those shows that kind of bring life to the story. So
well, I love that you wrote that. I love coming across things that people have written, and it's kind of rare these days to find like your blogs and things, because that's kind of out of I don't know. Are blogs still a deal? Is that still a thing?
I think now it's Substacks. It's a newsletter, so it's basically a blog.
Very fancy. Come out with a newsletter every day or every week. Wow. What kind of news is it? It's the news of Devon Bailey.
That's right. Which everyone would love to hear, whether they have a choice or not.
Well, I think so. And if they've listened this far into this episode, then they definitely are going to be looking it up. So just know that that's going to happen. I cannot thank you enough for sharing your story.
No,
like I tell everyone every episode, this show really only works if people come forward to share their journey, whether you've been a fan for 6 weeks or 30 years, or even if you've never seen them. I still like to remind everyone that you could be a huge fan of Dave Matthews Band and have never actually been to a concert. That is okay. I would love for you to be on my show. So if you're interested in sharing your journey, it's as simple as just reaching out to me on any social media, getting you scheduled. You can even email me, which will have that in the show links along with Devon's website and the show links, so you can look that up. And if you're listening to this on a podcast app, just know that you can watch all of this and most of my episodes on YouTube, which is simply just under the space between podcasts. But we're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Threads. We're on all of the things. So definitely check to see who's going to be out next, because it could be someone you know. It could be someone that you had an experience with at a show. And so you never know who's going to be on the show next. And guys, I'm just so happy that this has continued. We're almost at I don't know who the we is. I guess me and my husband. That's why I say we, because he helps a lot, outside of the camera and all of these things. And so we have some big things coming up. We don't want you to miss it as far as the shows coming up. And, we're just looking forward to the future, and whatever DMB chooses to do, we will be right here still putting out fan stories. If you've never listened to this podcast, this is your very first episode to listen to. Every single one is a different person sharing their journey. Sometimes we have people to come back on the show for their second time, but it's never the same story. It's about something different, or we're breaking down a song. One of my favorites was breaking down Dreaming Tree, or Hunger for the Great Light. Those are so fun to just go through line by line and try to tell you what we think Dave is saying. And we could be totally off, but that's okay. It's funny, and it was a lot of fun to go through those. So check out all the things that the Space Between podcast is doing. Be sure to follow us on our socials. I say that 3 or 4 times because it's important that you do so that you can see all of the fun things that we're doing. But Devon, again, thank you so much. Guys, until the next time, peace, love, and Dave Matthews Band.
Hey, this is Carolyn, the founder and CEO of the nonprofit safeinharmsway.org. It's an honor to be part of the Space Between podcast family, and very thankful to Renae for offering us time to talk about how people can show up for themselves or someone they love who is experiencing violence in relationships. It's a scary time in our country for people experiencing violence. 80% of the shelters in the United States are closing down due to drastic cuts from the federal government. So shelters are closing their doors and hotline calls are left unanswered. But at Safe in Harm's Way, we're launching a new initiative. We're made for this moment, and we're solving the crisis with a brand new campaign called TheLastI'mSorry.com. TheLastI'mSorry.com is a mobile-friendly site that features an interactive platform allowing for any person to identify exactly what they're experiencing and then get 2 immediate and actionable solutions based on the visitor's situation. It's built to be fast, private, and easy to exit because we recognize the danger that survivors may face just by searching for help. SafeInHarmsWay.org believes every person should have the opportunity to find unique help for their safety needs. And that's why TheLastI'mSorry.com was built for men, women, people of color, the queer community, immigrants, and medically compromised people. So check out the show notes. Save the solutions, share the resources, and save a life today.